Hello, great minds. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on the time you're listening to me. This is the Enlightenment Series brought to you by Organization Global. This is a platform where we have intentional conversations around growth, around purpose, conviction, developing your potentials, and other things that help you improve the meaningfulness of your life. We are committed to seeing a generation of people who will discover, develop, and deploy their potentials, and then serve the society better with them. People can grow and the world can become better. That's part of the beliefs I do have. That when people fall in alignment with purpose, the world becomes better. And that is part of the things we're doing here. Ensuring that people are enlightened, ensuring that people are transformed and then empowered to serve the world better. My name is Yakubu Huleji, and I am the founder of this movement, Organization Global, and I'm going to be your speaker and your host for this episode. So we'll be considering a very wonderful theme, a very wonderful topic, and the topic is around feeding. Yes, feeding. Feeding as a foundational principle for growth. Feeding, a foundational principle for growth. Growth is one of the greatest desires of mankind. Everybody wants to grow. Nobody wants to remain stagnant in life. In one way or the other, even people who seem to be dysfunctional desire growth. Everybody desires growth. We desire to grow spiritually, we desire to grow physically, we desire to grow financially, we desire to grow in business, we desire to grow in numbers, and all of that. Growth is just something that humans desire. However, growth is not automatic. Growth is not just something that just happens. There is a definition behind growth. There is a description behind growth. There is principles that guide growth. There is a mystery behind growth. And one of these key principles that guide growth is feeding. Feeding is one of those guiding principles for growth, in the sense that anything that must grow must be fed properly. Anything at all that must grow must be something that is fed properly. Anything at all. You see, when a baby is born, the baby needs to be fed well for the baby to grow properly. When plants are planted, they need to be watered, they need to receive nutrients, they need fertilizer for them to grow properly. Even machines, the machines we use, our generators, our cars, our motorcycles, they need fuel for them to function properly. So you can see that both functionality and growth need feeding for them to work, for them to be. That's how we are too as humans. That's how everything around us needs feeding. Just as feeding is necessary for physical growth, that is how it is with personal growth. That is how it is for professional and institutional growth. That is how it is for growth in business. Wherever you want to see growth, there have to be feeding. There is an intentional relationship between growth and feeding. If you feed on knowledge, your business will grow. Sorry, I mean to say your wisdom will grow. If you feed on knowledge, your wisdom will grow. If you feed on discipline, your excellence will grow. If you feed on purpose, your impact will grow. That's just how it is. If you feed on knowledge, your wisdom will grow. If you feed on discipline, your excellence grows. If you feed on purpose, your impact grows. That is a guiding principle in life. And in a like manner, if you feed on fear, your anxiety will grow. If you feed on lust, on greed, on covetousness, your corruption will grow. If you feed on distractions, your mediocrity also will grow. So life naturally gravitates towards the direction that you constantly nourish. Life naturally gravitates towards that direction that you continually nourish. So I want to encourage us in this very episode that feeding is very, very important. Yes. So there are areas of your life you need to feed. There are areas of your life that needs feeding. Areas of your life that needs feeding, and we are going to be seeing a few of them. The first area that needs feeding in your life is your spirit. The first area of your life that needs feeding is your spirit. Life is spiritual, believe me or not. Life is actually spiritual. There is nothing that you see physically that is not born out of something that happens beyond what you see, and that makes life spiritual. And your spirit is what controls your body, is what controls your mind. So whatever you feed on your spirit will definitely show in your body, and it will show in your mind. It will show in your mind, it will show in your body. So feed your spirit with the right things. Feed your spirit with the right things. What you receive in your spirit determines what goes to your mind, and determines what goes to your body. And then generally, that is how your life will be. So what are you feeding your spirit with? What are you feeding your spirit with? Another area that you need to feed is you need to feed your body. Very, very, very important. We need to feed your body. One thing I would like to let you know is you need a physical body for you to fulfill destiny. The moment this body can't carry you anymore, you can't do anything. You can't fulfill those dreams of yours. You can't move forward anymore. There is nothing that you can do the moment this body cannot carry you anymore. I hope you know that you are not your body. You are not the structure that stands and works and all of that. The main you is your spirit. And then your body is a container. But the moment that this container cannot carry you again, you will not be able to do anything in life. So feeding your body is very, 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 very important. It's of utmost importance. Anybody who fails to feed his body will definitely lose a lot. I believe we must have come in contact with stories of how people died of starvation. It's quite sad, but it's real. That when you don't feed properly, even in your body, you may die. You may die. So feed your body, because you need this body to fulfill destiny. You need this body to fulfill the purpose that we are all talking about. You need a physical body. This is something that a lot of people fail to pay attention to. Probably in subsequent editions or in subsequent episodes, we may focus more on things like this. Feeding is very, very important. You need to feed your body. The next area that I want to encourage you to feed is feeding your mind. This is of very, 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 very great importance. Feeding your mind. Feeding your mind. Your mind is the engine room of your life. Your mind is the engine room of your life. The center point of your thinking, the center point of what processes you. That's the central processing unit of life. If your mind is not fed well, it's going to show in everything you do, because your mind is what produces your action. Your mind is the central point where you think of things, and that's what produces your action. So you need to feed your mind. You need to feed your mind properly. And how do you feed your mind? You feed your mind by learning. Learning is very, very, very important for anybody who must feed his or her mind. You need to learn. You need to learn. You need to learn. You need to read. Reading is let me say, almost non-negotiable. because one of the places where you can gain the knowledge we're talking about, one of the areas through which you can learn is by reading, is by studying. That is where you get a level of certain understanding. Informations are coded usually in books, in writing, from generation to generation. Informations are coded in writing. So I just want to encourage you. If you have to grow your mind, you have to read books. You also need to observe. Observation is very, very powerful. One of the ways human can grow is by observation. There are things that you may not have access to. There are people you may not have access to, but by observing them, you can replicate their results in your life. And how you do that is through your mind. It's through your mind. So let your mind constantly be involved in the process of observing. Observing. Another thing that you need to do if you must grow your mind is having exposure. I've touched a bit about exposure in previous episodes of this of the Enlightenment series. You need to be exposed. What you're exposed to matters a lot. You cannot grow beyond the level of your exposure. If you cannot imagine it, if you have not seen something like that, if you don't think a certain level of results is possible, then you can never come in contact with it. Don't be like a fish that is in a pond. You see, a fish in a pond feels that's the biggest place in the world, and a fish in a pond don't know that there are other species of fishes. Until when it moves to the ocean, that's when it's going to see that, oh, the world is really bigger than this. So don't be that person. Be a person who is exposed. And one of the ways you can get exposure is still by reading, by studying, by traveling, by learning. That's how you get exposed. And conversations too helps you grow your mind. Conversations. Who do you talk to? What do you listen to? They help grow your mind. Have you ever had a conversation with someone and you leave thinking this is the best thing I've ever done with my life? There are people you talk to and then you get rejuvenated. There are people you talk to and then you get happy. There are people you talk to and they inspire you for growth. Listening also is part of it. As you are listening to this episode right now, it is doing something on your mind. Yes, it's doing something on your mind. You are exposing your mind to knowledge and it's helping your life. So, and other things, there are many things you need to do if you want to grow your mind. Mentorship, you need to reflect, you need to have experience and all of that. Even as we wrap up this episode, I would like to encourage you to know that feeding requires intentionality and consistency. Feeding requires intentionality and consistency. Growth is not accidental. Growth is not automatic. Growth is not by coincidence. Growth is a response to feeding and nourishment. It is a response to feeding and nourishment. So, you have to be intentional about it. You have to be consistent about it. You don't feed once and grow. No, but it has to be intentional and it has to be consistent if you must grow. The quality of your growth is largely dependent on the quality of what you feed on. The quality of your growth is largely dependent on what you feed on. So thank you very much for listening to this episode. I sincerely appreciate your time. Until the next episode, stay enlightened, stay intentional, and remember that an enlightened mind creates a transformed life, and a transformed life produces empowerment. This is the Enlightenment Series brought to you by Haskinization Global. Do well to follow us across our various handles: Spotify, YouTube, and others. Thank you very much, and God bless you.